record button. So now we have a talk from Alain Monteil about HAL and Software Heritage identifiers.
Yes, thank you. So I will talk about how we promote the archiving and the citation of software research code source with HAL and Software Heritage. I'm Alain Monteil from Inria, I'm librarian, and we work in a little team. You have the name here with some engineer like Yannick Barberini from CCSD and Moran Krinpeter from Software Heritage, and Estelle is on stage too. So the agenda of this presentation is first the collaboration. After I will show you two ways to deposit software code source, and if we have time, so I will talk about the moderation controller, which is the specificity of this process. So the collaboration between CCSD, Software Heritage, and Inria begins in 2017. Now we are almost service open for all researchers using HAL in France, and we have developed some services and tools, and one most development in the last year was the deposit with the SWID. The first method to archiving and to make a citation for your software source code, we call it local method because it's the researcher make an archive zip folder, and with this zip folder, he put an HAL like a paper, like a PDF paper on the archive, and then after the moderation control, the source code is archiving by Software Heritage, and the metadata is available on HAL. The second method is the SWID method. So it's based on the very simple services from Software Heritage called SciCodes now. You put your version control system URL on the SciCodes now, and then your source code is immediately archiving on Software Heritage. And then you have the Software Heritage ID, well-known SWID. And with this SWID, you use it to make the citation, the deposit on HAL. And then I will see I will talk about what it is in behind the scene of this process. So you put the SWID on HAL, and then HAL asks to Software Heritage, do you know this SWID? And of course, I hope Software Heritage answer yes, and HAL look if there is a code method.json file, and if it is, HAL retrieve all metadata coming from this file. With this metadata, it's the beginning of the complete of the form. They fill the form with some information coming from the code method.json, and then researcher can add some more information like description or funding information is very specific from French national agency or European agency. And then after that, you have the HAL item created and the links with the SWID on the source code on the Software Heritage. Sorry, I have no time, so I hope I am not too late. Few words about the moderation process. Behind each deposit, we have a moderator. It's very often a librarian, but it could be also data librarians or data stewards, and they check if there is all condition okay with metadata, because some metadata are mandatory and some are optional. The goal is to have a very high level of metadata for each items, and to be sure that we can make the creditations to the researcher who had deposited the source code. So some arguments to use HAL and Software Heritage for promote and archiving your source codes. With HAL and Software Heritage, you have a long-term preservation of your source code. you have two identifiers, and it is very important. One is specific intrinsic is SWID, and the second is HAL ID for the metadata. You have a very high-level description of your software, and you can make some citation with your resources in many environments. So the couple SWID and HAL ID can offer a very strong combination between SWID, which is to the links to exactly where you want to go for the source code, and the metadata coming from HAL. So with SWID, you have the identifier to necessary for the reproducibility and for archival for long term. And with the HAL ID, you have an identifier to make credits and to have a very strong indexation and referencing with the Google Scholar or any search engine. Some example of the citation of the software. So as I said at the beginning of this talk, we develop the bibliothèque format for the software with Arroba software and Arroba software version. Here you have an example of this bibliothèque, and then you can add in any document you write. All researchers in Inria are working in LaTeX, so they use bibliothèque for references. And then now, since 2020, they can add in the references document a bibliothèque item, so it's very easy to cite software in document. Here you have an example of what is done after a style process. And here, this is the citation from HAL. It is a little widget. You can cut and paste in any document. It's very easy. And then you have the two identifiers, the SWID and the HAL identifier. For my conclusion, some benefits of this process: you have a better visibility for your software, especially in the open science context, because you can link to publication, you can link to data in open publication, of course, and open data with your software. There is some field dedicated to that in HAL. So the links is very easy to do. You have the long-term preservation with the software heritage, high quality of metadata with the moderation process, and several export formats. We have bibliothèque, of course, we have TI, we have code meta.json, and some more. And so it's very easy for researchers to integrate these references in the web page, in any report or any CV for the researcher activity. Thank you. Me, Moran, and maybe Estelle, but especially Moran, are ready to answer some questions about this process or any question about software with HAL and Software Heritage.
That is excellent. Thank you so much for that talk. We've got a couple minutes for questions. I saw Daniel first.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. It was very nice. My question is related to the bibliothèque tag. So I see that GitHub now has @software, and I see that you guys are using @software version. So I think this is going to be potentially confusing for researchers. So which one should we use?
Would you like me to answer? Yes, no problem. So actually the bibliothèque specification is, there are 4 types. There's software module, software version, and code fragment. There are different level of granularity of software. So here we are using software version because the specific version was identified in the metadata. For a software item that that doesn't have this identifier for the version, will have a software type as for the BibTeX. We have discussed with the citation.cff integration with GitHub. For now, they're using the software type. Before it was the MISC. This is an improvement. And if they will have, they might use the software version in the future. It is better to have both software and software version for semantic reasons. Did this answer your question, Daniel?
Just a follow-up,
yes.
Where can I see that BibTeX specifications, the different types?
Yes, I will put a link in the chat. Just a minute.
Thank you so much.
And Hervé, you've got your hand up.
Yes. So I have two questions for you. The first is how well, can you give an estimate on the size of how many different software have been registered and cited using that so far? And the second question would be, is there a mechanism that would automatically create new software versions whenever you release a new version on GitHub? Because that would be awesome.
So for the first question, as you see, these services is on beta test for the 2018, and it is really offered to Inria researchers in 2019. So it's very new. We have actually, I don't have the number now, but I think we have more than several hundreds of items software in HAL. And we don't have any studies to know if it is really, if the LACTEC, it is really used by researcher actually. What we promote is to give the guideline from the BibLaTeX documentation, and it is not in my slide. One of the journals from Epicence, it is a journal in mechanic, gives this recommendation to authors to use this method to cite software in any papers. And for the second question, maybe Moran correct me, but I said no.
No, I said I'm not correcting. You are right. I just said I can correct you, but I'm not correcting you. Yes, we can't do. Well, I think that the second question was about GitHub and not about HAL. Was about creating a software version in the GitHub citation export, right? But since they are using now software for now, I hope, well, when we will work with them on that, I will keep this in mind, that in each release, we can have this version, this export version, software version in GitHub. But for now, they are using, as Daniel said, the software type, which is good, but in the specification doesn't have a version property. So this is why it's better to use a software version when we are citing a version of the software.
Okay, thanks a lot.
That is excellent. And I'm going to stop the recording.